It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
your blood.
Oh yeah, politics. Here we go. We are in the throes, the convulsions of the reactions to the Roe v. Wade decision just happening. What was it? 2 days ago, Friday, this happened. And I guess, as expected, the reaction is playing out just as if it were perfectly scripted. We'll start out here at the New York Post just for an overview here. New York Post, Arizona abortion protest. Police released tear gas. Lawmakers held hostage in Senate building.
Oh my gosh.
Oopsies. Uh-oh.
Is it another Jan 6?
There you go. Okay, a little just jumping the gun, but that's
sorry,
right. That is
reacting.
No, I mean it's exactly right. So with that in mind, let's see what kind of parallels we can feel out here. Law enforcement officers in Phoenix, Arizona, used tear gas to break up a sizable group of protesters outside the state's Senate building following the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to overturn the landmark abortion ruling Roe v. Wade. Quote, protesters threatened to break the Arizona state entryway glass. Ooh, they're threatening the glass. Republican Arizona State Senator Wendy Rogers tweeted, as members were in the middle of voting on a series of bills. The situation escalated. So we have an angry mob threatening to break glass during some legislative processes. I'd say parallel number one to Jan 6. Just much like on January 6th, the protesters were there to, protest or whatever, depending which news station you're listening to, halt or interrupt or whatever.
They destroy our democracy, Basil.
Process.
They're there to destroy the country.
The certification. Yes, they were there to commandeer the ship. The situation escalated into a, quote, hostage situation.
Whoa.
As lawmakers were instructed not to exit the building. Republican Arizona State Senator Kelly Townsend said. The Republican caucus of the state Senate later called the protest an attempted insurrection. We're just going to have an insurrection every couple of years, or I guess every year.
Every year.
Yeah, love it.
Our annual insurrection. Great.
Quote, we are currently annual insurrection. For some reason, that sounds dirty. Okay, quote, we are currently there being held hostage inside the Senate building due to members of the public trying to breach our security. Townsend tweeted Friday night, quote, we smell tear gas and the children of one of the members are in the office sobbing with fear. This is the other parallel that I love.
I thought Townsend smelled tear gas and children. I was like, whoa.
Tear gas and tears, they have a very similar smell, apparently. No, I think this is another interesting parallel because remember the whole thing, the whole emotional roller coaster that was January 6th was, AOC talking about how traumatized she was and
it's in the stall. I can hear them in the hallway. Yeah.
Yeah, the emotional trauma, not just for the lawmakers, but for, the police, for the that.
Yeah,
everybody, lots of tears on January 6th as well. It continues, quote, I expect a J24 committee to be created immediately, she added.
Is that June 24th?
June 24th.
Wow.
Referencing the January 6th committee that is investigating the insurrection of the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th, 2021. I was surprised that New York Post specifically used the word insurrection. No quotes, no nothing. It's just their fact of the matter now. It was an insurrection. According to the lawmakers, law enforcement officers then deployed tear gas to disperse the crowds and regain control of the building. Quote, crowd was dispersed with tear gas, Rogers added, noting the protests were still continuing and the situation remained very dangerous. Another lawmaker confirmed the use of tear gas. Okay, we get it. Lots of tear gas. Lots of quotes about tear gas. One thing, have you watched the little video that's on this page?
I did catch a little bit of it. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, it was kind of like, okay. Yeah.
I mean, definitely not as exciting as as the January 6th footage. I was a little bit like, oh, come on, where's the footage? You got to have footage if you're going to, ramp up the fear porn on this thing. There is a little bit of footage, but it's all from one angle, somebody kind of upstairs in the veranda. The balcony, and they're just filming the police lining up in the lobby or whatever.
Yeah. And there you can see the people on the other side of the glass door and wall and stuff. And there's reporters and
it would have been way cooler if somebody was smashing the glass, man.
Yeah, why is it that every quote unquote insurrection is, it's just mostly people walking around taking pictures and video? It's all of a sudden it's, the country or the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court. What is this? The Senate building or whatever getting taken over?
Yeah, it's just some sort of legislative building.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Senate building. I don't know. We got to wait a day or two for the previously unseen camera angles that have the people with, zip ties. And
I mean, and some of these pictures here, it's people protesting outside the building. I don't know. Yeah. Why are the Republicans calling this an insurrection? I don't see any.
You know exactly why. Don't ask that question.
I know, but it's just like, why drop to that level? I guess
I would too.
Okay.
If you're some sort of pawn in the false dichotomy of the two-party system, you're some sort of foot soldier in the illusion of democracy. You have to call it an insurrection.
I don't know. It's just such low-hanging fruit, though. It's
exactly.
Can't be a little more
you
creative.
Think these people are geniuses? Yeah. No, they wouldn't eat if there weren't.
Geniuses podcast.
Low-hanging fruit.
That's what geniuses do. They podcast value for value.
Yeah. It's kind of a bummer. I'm still having a hard time hearing you, but we're just going to keep going.
I think you are, because I'll say something but I don't think you hear me. So you kind of steamroll, which is fine. I'm used to getting steamrolled by you. So.
I'll try to. That was happening last episode too. That's why I had to stop so many times, because you'd say something, I just didn't hear you, and I'd have to ask again. So anyways, there you go. It's happening. It's like 2020 all over again. I expect these protests and riots and things to continue for a while. Perhaps it'll be a repeat of 2020 where it just goes all summer. Well, we need an autonomous zone. We need I don't know. We need gang. Well,
instead of Chad, it'll be
citizens. We need an autonomous zone where they claim the abortion rules don't matter here, and so they'll make a nice little hippie art village where abortions will take place.
Sure. Speaking of which, okay, go ahead. Yeah, because this next article here is very interesting. I had to actually do a double take and process the headline.
I'm glad you did, because, at first glance, somebody may not really understand why this is an important headline. But those who've been listening to this show for a while, they know. But I'll try to catch everybody up if you're new. So this comes from The Atlantic. The Atlantic being sort of the controlling ownership owned by
Bezos'
Laura Powell Jobs.
Jobs.
Like that.
That's right. Jobs' wife.
Yeah. Steve Jobs' wife. Yeah. The Atlantic sort of posing as a news organization, although it's pretty widely accepted that it's more of just sort of a cultural commentary, social engineering,
propaganda.
Sort of meme factory more than anything else, but posing as news or journalism. But the headline here, and of course, as pretty far left as any outlet could be while maintaining some semblance of mainstreamness, which is why this headline was surprising. The pro-life movement's work is just beginning. And I saw this and I thought, the pro-life. Now, first of all, because it's The Atlantic, I read pro-life, but my brain registered pro-choice.
That's exactly what happened to me. I had to double take. I was like, wait, what? The Atlantic? Why are they? Is this in support of pro-life or what?
It's got a weird feel. It's kind of ambiguous right here. And this is written by David French. I don't know much about this guy, but I'm kind of interested in seeing what else he's got going on.
Familiar name.
It is, yeah. The pro-life movement's work is just beginning. And once I figured out, yes, it says pro-life, I'm like, okay, so this is going to be about, the evil Republicans and the white violent domestic extremists. And it's going to be, I kind of just like, yeah, I know what this is. But I started reading and it goes like this. The entire legal and cultural ethos of the pro-life movement can be summed up in 2 sentences. A just society protects all life. A moral society values all life. Ooh. Oh. Weird. The Atlantic.
They care about life all of a sudden.
Summing up the pro-life movement in what seems to be a positive way. Justice is thus necessary, but not sufficient for a culture of life. The pro-life movement should greet the reversal of Roe v. Wade with a spirit of gratitude. The people of this country have, for the first time in almost 50 years, an opportunity to enact laws that truly protect the lives of unborn children. But the movement should also show a profound humility and absence of malice towards their political opponents. So do you feel weird yet, guys?
I don't know.
It's just like, okay, you won. Let's not be let's show some sportsmanship here, pro-lifers. After all, the simple truth is that if the pro-life movement wants to end abortion, it has to do much more work than merely banning abortion. They didn't ban abortion, but okay. Indeed, if it reacts with too heavy a hand in the aftermath of Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, the movement can ultimately defeat its very purpose. The history of abortion in the United States is contentious and complicated, but a single fact should shape much of the debate in the months and years to come. Abortion was more common when it was mostly illegal. According to the data from the Pro-Abortion Rights Guttmacher Institute, the abortion rate was at about 16 abortions per 1,000 women when Roe v. Wade was decided in 1973. Soared to 29.3 abortions per 1,000 women by the end of the Carter administration in 1981, and then began a long, slow, steady decline to an all-time low of 13.5 abortions per 1,000 women in 2017. So those are some numbers I had never heard before.
Also, population bigger now. So while per 1,000 might be less, total is probably still more now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense.
How to lie with statistics.
Yeah. Oh, they love it. This decrease doesn't mean that pro-life Americans should cease working to provide legal protections for unborn life. The Atlantic, social engineering leftist juggernaut says that pro-life Americans should not cease working to provide legal protections for unborn life. And at this point, I'm like, okay, where's the turn? Where's the gotcha? It seems like they're setting some sort of trap, But
they still could be, even if you don't get the hammer in this article. It could be a long play.
That's true. It could be a long play. As a matter of deep principle, we cannot leave any human being unprotected by law, and the life and health of the mother are as paramount as those of the child. But the historical records tell us that ending abortion is a different matter from banning abortion. We cannot end abortion until we learn why women seek abortions and how our nation can address concerns that lead them to make that choice. And this is kind of where it shifts into the conversation that we're all familiar with. It's a tweetable, it's a blue check mark, gotcha tweetable. Like, oh, you don't want abortions, but you want our children to be killed in school. You Republicans, you crazy psychopaths, this sort of thing. So it kind of works along those lines, but then goes into sort of an extensive and thorough breakdown of, hey, okay, let's just make life better for everybody. It's got a little bit of a socialist bent to it, which is the if you look at the Roe v. Wade being overturned, first of all, it's being reported over and over and over, pounded into the minds of Americans through headlines and through TV personalities. They keep bringing it up. Conservatives have fought for 50 years to end. They've been doing it for 50 years. It's a master plan. It's a grand scheme, perhaps even a conspiracy of sorts that has been long in the making, really pounding it in that they've been working on this for a very long time. But if you look at it, take a second, change your perspective and say, what if the Roe v. Wade being overturned was a plan of the Democrats or of the left? Just as a thought experiment, what if the Roe v. Wade decision was architected by the left? And we've pondered this type of thing before, which is, things like this are very powerful to mobilizing and solidifying the Democratic Party, which as of now famously is unmobilized and sort of disjointed from top to bottom. Really, the effectiveness of the party has lost almost, any any resemblance to effectiveness, which is shown in the presidency of Biden, the approval numbers, the movement of midterm elections towards the right, these types of things. But I still believe that if we take a second, consider what if this was architected by the left to mobilize and stop the pendulum from swinging.
Well, makes sense. Oh, you cut out there. Are you still there?
Says the same thing that lots of other, lefties have said, which is, hey, if you care for fetuses, let's care for all humans.
Hey,
but
Basil,
it does it in a very... I'm sorry?
You cut out a little bit, at least for the live stream listeners. You're cutting out a little bit, so every once in a while. To your point, though,
it's a connection issue.
Yeah, I think it's just Skype or whatever. But
okay.
But to your point,
and say,
okay,
yeah, I'll just wrap it up and say that the point is, I think it's a very real possibility if we are striving to disconnect from the illusion of that the two-party system, the wizards of bipartisanism, have been executing for many years, to the ultimate goal of just keeping the population controlled. Both their minds and their physical existence. I think that it's very possible that the deeper end of this is it's a totally left architected thing, and the pendulum swinging the other way again will become a very harsh reality or a big surprise to the sort of adherence to the right side of the political religion.
Okay, so to your point about maybe this is left created or left, the lefties came up with this plan. There's evidence over the past last year during the Gavin Newsom recall, Texas did their thing with the abortions, and then that really mobilized Democrats across the country. And then, that really got Newsom all fired up, or people in California, California here, all fired up to keep Newsom in office. But, if you step back and kind of look at it from a social engineering perspective and knowing sort of the right left paradigm, and you ask the question, who benefits the most, having this sort of victory for the Republicans is very useful right now, because for one, you get Republicans celebrating. Hey, we did it. 50 years. We did it. We have a victory. It's been not a lot of victories the last few years, even with Trump in office. Yeah. Right. In terms of like big changes in law across the country and stuff like that. So boom, you get the Republicans all excited, and it mobilizes the Democrats, the outrage, because outrage is the ultimate currency of the left, right? Like you can't mobilize the left if you don't have outrage. So I
would say for both parties.
You're right. You're for both. But I think the
secret ingredient of the two-party system. Sure.
But the outrage sort of tank was wasted. It's all depleted for the Republicans. They need to refill with some positivity, So talking about the pendulum, right? So it kind of makes sense. And I think a lot of this is going towards birth registration and legal identity across the world as we go on. Because I always think about this, and I've brought it up many times in the past. But, me personally, been reporting on the Agenda 2030 United Nations thing since 2015 is when they started talking about it as, Agenda 2030 and, going through all of their goals. They have a bunch of goals, right? One of the goals under goal 16, which is promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. UN going to dictate all that, right? Great. Good luck with that, UN. But anyway, so under that chapter, they have 16.9 by 2030, provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. So the UN wants a registry of every birth in the world by 2030.
Right.
And so this victory for the Republicans comes with, we need to make sure that every child is accounted for. I mean, even now you can see sort of I see a lot on Twitter, like the lefties go like, well, you care about life when they're embryos and then you don't care when they're born.
Right.
That whole argument. And so now you have this sort of middle ground, a solution that comes from the UN. That's like, well, let's protect life with sort of a David French. I can't tell if David French here in this article is being like not sarcastic or whatever.
No,
but
he's
you think he's
quite
being sincere
through the whole thing.
Okay, it just makes me question because I don't know. It is weird that he's sort of leaning into that victory of the right, Republican, whatever, and just like,
I don't know,
congratulating or something, trying to take the high road, he's
not trying
getting
to
dirty.
Be friends. He's like trying to befriend the pro-life side and gently guide them in a direction.
Well, especially where the temperament of this country is, you're going to get more clicks. The Atlantic needs clicks. You're not going to get a bunch of clicks peddling the same lefty type of tropes forever, especially now.
Well,
so
we'll see. But speaking of which, what's the Pope got to say about this, Gons?
Oh, the Pope. Oh, you know what? There's a couple I wanted to do, but hey, you know what? The Pope.
Space Pope Reptilian.
The Pope. This is Reuters.com. Oh, you know what? I had a not paywall version of this. Shoot, I got rid of it. Hold on. Let me take a second to...
You're getting paywalled on Reuters, bro?
I exceeded my 3 free articles or whatever it is that they got going. Hold on. This is our I need a stall here.
I can give you the headline. Oh yeah.
Give me a break.
Gotta find the paywall killer. Give me a break. Come on. Give me a break. Hacking the mainframe.
There we go. Okay, here we go. Reuters, pro-life. What is this? What is this pop-up doing here? Okay, out of the way. Pro-life is not just opposing abortion, Vatican says after U.S. ruling.
Oh, look at that. The Atlantic and the Pope agree.
Well, yes, and the Pope.
Lest you think that the Pope's pro-life position is too conservative.
Right. Well, the Reuters does I don't know, maybe it's Reuters, maybe it's the Vatican. They do a brilliant job of sort of trying to please everyone on this. Very interesting. So here we go. This is a short article. Anti-abortion activists should be concerned with other issues that can threaten life, such as easy access to guns, poverty, and rising maternity mortality rates. The Vatican's editorial director said on Saturday in a media editorial on the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling to end the constitutional right to abortion. Andrea Tornielli said those who oppose abortion could not pick and choose pro-life issues. Quote, being for life always, for example, means being concerned if the mortality rates of women due to motherhood increase, he wrote. He cited statistics from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention showing a rise in maternity mortality rates overall, and that the rate was nearly 3 times higher for Black women. Quote, being for life always means asking for help, asking how to help women welcome new life, he wrote, citing an unsourced statistic that 75% of women who have abortions live in poverty and are low-wage earners.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're not going to source that statistic.
I know. It's just funny how they're like, okay. He also cited statistics from the Harvard Review of Psychiatry showing that the U.S. has much lower rates of paid parental leave compared with other rich nations. Quote, being for life always also means defending it against the threat of firearms, which unfortunately have become a leading cause of death of children and adolescents in the U.S., he wrote. The Roman Catholic Church teaches that abortion is murder because life begins at the moment of conception and ends with natural death. Mm-hmm. Pope Francis has compared having an abortion to, quote, hiring a hitman to eliminate a problematic person.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. But he tried to steer the U.S. Catholic Church away from seeing abortion as a single overarching life issue in the country's so-called culture wars. The death penalty, gun control, support for families, and immigration are also life issues, he said. Look at that. Isn't that so sneaky, slimy?
I don't think so, actually.
No, you don't think so?
I mean, here's the thing. I think I was going to say danger, but that's not the right word. The effectiveness of this message coming out of the Vatican is not the sneaky, slimy disagreeableness. The reason that it works, but the reason why you do need to pay more attention to it is because it's hard to disagree with. I mean, it's logically consistent that if you are going to claim to be pro-life, you need to both, have your stance on abortion and have your stance on general death of human beings. That is logically consistent and something we should all be agreeing with. But the old switcheroo happening there is the presupposition that simply the non-existence of guns would mean less people would die.
So yeah,
and that's where the sort of very deception comes
that's what I'm saying. The point he's making alone makes sense. There's logical consistency to it, but it's interesting because he's sort of giving a kudos to the conservative side of the aisle that, because the Catholic Church teaches abortion's wrong and stuff. So he's like, you got to lean into that. But then also he's kind of drawing in those who disagree, like the liberal left, Democrat, whatever, that crowd. It's almost like that he's trying to bring them together, like, hey, we can all agree that life, it's all life issues. But to me, it's just, I don't know, man.
Means, man.
Yeah, yes, universal. But there's something about it that makes me think like, wow, what a sly tongue to be able to pat the back of your conservative constituents and also be so inviting and understanding to the liberal side of the aisle.
Oh, no,
so,
that's why,
that's why I think it's slimy.
That's why he's the Pope and we're not, Gons.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, the other thing, this is not related to Roe, but the other interesting part of the Pope's sort of stance and clout, the muscle that he flexes around the world, is also his stance on Ukraine, when he basically came out and said, yeah, the U.S. lured Russia into war and they want it. And this is about the military industrial complex. It's about selling weapons. That's what this is about. Kind of taking an interesting sort of almost truther vibe on the topic. And their ability to go back and forth without holding fast on one side of at least the American political aisle, I think is part of the genius of what they got going on. Well, and
if the world, because a lot of the world is, well, not a lot of the world. There's a large population in the world that is Catholic. They follow the Pope, they follow the Vatican, and if there's common ground there, it's a great way to create a sort of a tragic end to the final Pope, Basil. If he's the final Pope, something's going to happen to the Vatican. I don't know, an asteroid or something going to hit it, explode, and then the world can mourn and they'll come together even more. Mm-hmm. Remember when the Pope brought pro-lifers and pro-choicers together? Anyway,
that is his whole thing, man. The Jesuits are very good at that. Yeah. Just to mention something that I learned recently. Do you know sort of the etymology of the Vatican?
I know I've looked at it before, but please enlighten us.
Well, it comes from, I believe it's Vaticana.
Vaticanus, yeah.
Which it was a pagan goddess, an Etrusian goddess. Oh, Vatica was her name.
Vatica.
She was the Etrusian goddess of the underworld.
Good. That's
yeah.
good.
So, the Catholics have always been a very good job of, merging one side to another side. You can claim to be the Christian gods, the Judeo-Christian gods man on the ground. And yet, your entire establishment is sort of based off of pagan religions and stuff that would claim not to align with the Judeo-Christian religion. So I think from its very inception, it's good at walking the line across the board.
We did skip. We did skip the story. There was a Daily Caller story about the MSNBC hostess who pressed on the California lieutenant governor, who said that they need to defy the decision, the Supreme Court decision, and the MSNBC
kind of like overturning the election results.
Yeah, and the MSNBC host, to her credit, basically said, like, "Are you telling people to break the law?" So that was fun.